tapping, and it was in Morse code. And the tapping, the dots, the dashes, the dots, the dashes. And he finally made it out. It was saying, is there any hope? Is there any hope? Is there any hope? This past Wednesday, we collectively ask ourselves that same question. It was 9/11. And we've been asking ourselves that question for a long time. My wife, Lisa, and I asked that question on the birth of our very first child. Is there any hope they will live in a world of peace? And Lisa and I will ask that question this week as we are there for the birth of our granddaughter, Ava Mae. Will she live in a world of peace? Is there any hope at all that terrorism will end? Is there any hope at all that the shootings that we read about, that we experience, will end? Is there any hope at all that King Kim Jong-un will give up ballistic missiles? Is there any hope at all that Iran will stop trying to persecute Israel? Is there any hope that Israel will leave the Arab community in peace? Is there any hope that Russia and China will cease their way of global domination? Is there any hope at all? Looking back on Wednesday at 9/11, realizing 3,000 people close died. And many more are still dying this very day because they breathed the toxic air on that day. And now those diseases are causing their death. The only thing you can remember about that horrible day is those buildings coming down. But do you know that bombings and terrorism have been with us a long time? Tomorrow, Monday, marks the 99th anniversary of the Wall Street bombing. I don't know if you remember that. It was a horrible bombing on Wall Street. 75 years after that bombing, there was a bombing in Oklahoma City. And in between the two, there was a bombing of the Baptist Church on the 16th Avenue in Birmingham. Is there any hope of peace? Last year, 340 mass shootings. Is there any hope? Once a sheep was lost, the howling of the wolves grew closer. The thundering paws of the racing pack clamored towards the bleeding lamb. And then a shepherd appeared. "Little lamb," said the shepherd, "have hope." And with that, the shepherd placed the lamb on his shoulder. And he carried the lamb in the midst of the pack of wolves. And he dared them to snarl. They backed away. And he whispered to the lamb, "Have hope, I'm here." And he walked the lamb to safety. And the yellowing eyes of danger vanished in the horizon. You see, there is hope in the world. Because there's people that think they have a sense of entitlement. And so they try to inflict pain and sorrow. But they simply cannot take away your hope and my hope. Jeremiah, the prophet of old, knew that. He reminded his people that hope comes from God and only from God, and you've got to have patience. And the people of Israel knew that. They were taken out of the land of Israel into Egypt. But they had hope that one day they would return, but it would take patience. God turns things around in God's own time if we have patience. It is that hope in Jesus Christ that gives us real, meaningful, palpable hope. To those that set off bombs on 9/11 that are still creeping around the world today, we say to them, you still have no power over us. We have hope. To those who have murdered with gun violence in Ohio, California, and right here in Texas, we say to them, you have no power over us. We have hope. Because in the midst of violence, in the midst of terrorism, yes, you can inflict pain. The one thing you cannot do, you simply cannot take away our hope in God. Because we fight against poverty. We fight against injustice. We give hope to the disenfranchised. Because we believe the voice of God is carrying us through adversity. We will endure. We will triumph. We have patience. Because in the midst of adversity, we have hope. Look behind me at the stained glass mirror, the window, reflecting back your face, Jesus looking back. It's a mirror. It's a mirror. Yes, it's stained glass, but it's you being carried, me being carried. What does it say underneath Jesus carrying the Lamb? It says, God is our hope. We believe that. Remember, no matter what happens in this world, we are being carried on the shoulders of Jesus Christ. And he's walking in the midst of the terrorists, those that would do violence to us, and he is daring them to take away our hope. We have patience. One day, God willing, one day, my lovely, lovely granddaughter about to be born will live in a world of peace. But until then, may Jesus carry her on his shoulder. In the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit.